Hey everyone, welcome to the drawing class. I'm Miss Felicia and today we're drawing an apple. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to draw the basic shape of a red apple. Now, all apples are different shapes and different colors and patterns. So it's important to know that your apple may not look exactly like mine, but it's still gonna look great. So let's start with a circle. And you don't have to trace anything, just make the best circle you can, the size of the apple that you want it to be. You can draw lightly because we are going to erase this line. So I go around a couple of times, I make a couple of light lines, and I just try to make it as round as possible. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, but this is going to do just fine for today. Now, in the very center of your circle, come down a little ways and put a dot. Then also at the bottom, the very, very bottom of your circle, come up a little ways and put a dot. These two lines should be right on top of each other and representing the center of your circle. Okay, then on the circle, whatever line you like the best, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect or even, come down to the circle about a 45-degree angle away from this line. So that means just out a little ways here and put a dot right on that circle. We'll do the same thing on the other side, about the same distance away. So now you've made a little dot triangle here. Great, now we're ready to do the outline of the apple. Start at the top dot that you did, and you're going to make a very loose heart shape. So I'll come out of the right side here, a little bump that goes up. I'll trace the outer edge of my circle a little ways down, and then I'm actually going to curve my line back in like a heart until it comes down to the bottom of the circle where that dot is. So you can see this isn't a perfect heart, but just a general heart shape, or you could just imagine the side of an apple. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Start at the top, bump your way up like a very flat heart, and then trace your way around that circle until you're ready to curve it back in and go down to that outer dot on the left that you did. So you can see it kind of looks like a heart, kind of looks like an apple. Okay, now we're just going to make a little hill from this dot to this dot where the top touches that center dot, just like this. Curve it up and curve it back down. Now you have the bottom of your apple and the top of your apple. If you'd like to now, take your eraser and go back and erase any of that circle that you can still see. So today, my apple's pretty tall and thin. Yours might be shorter and rounder. So whatever your apple looks like, I'm sure it's great. Let's go from here and we're gonna make the stem. So the stem comes out of the apple, not right here on the top, but a little ways down. So we're gonna just make a little soft squiggle line right underneath that center top of the apple. And then from the middle of that squiggle that you did, just come up with a nice curved line. That's 1/2 of our stem. We do want to make the stem a little bit thicker so we can color it in later. So make a parallel line that goes right next to it, and it can widen a little bit at the top. So you can see it's pretty thin down here. It's a little bit thicker up here, and we'll just connect the two lines. So there's our stem. While we're at it, let's make a leaf. From the edge of your stem, probably on your right side, you're going to make a very loose S curve. You'll come up, curve back down, and then curve back up. Just a nice, loose S-curve. From there, we're going to make the shape of a traditional leaf. Yours can have smooth edges or jagged edges. You can choose. So I'm just gonna come up a little ways from the little leaf stem that I have here, and I'm going to just bump it up and then make it come to a point at the top of that S-curve line. I'll also do the same on the other side. Bump it out, make a nice thick leaf, and make it curve back up to that point. Now, if you did want to make jagged lines, you could even take this smooth line that you've already done and just make tiny little notches that follow the direction of that line. Give your leaf a little bit more dimension and interest. You can choose, leave it smooth or make it jagged. That's your choice. We'll add a few little veins going into our leaf. You can make squiggly Ys. This part is however you think the vein should fit into your shape leaf. But what you always want to do is you want to start at the base of it. So wherever your vein starts, like say I'm going to start one here, I'm going to start here on the center of the leaf and then lift my pencil off. That way it gives it a light edge versus a really tough and strong edge and dark edge. So every vein that you do is going to start in the center of your leaf. Okay, once you're satisfied with however many veins that you have, we are actually going to switch to colors and learn how to color this in. I want to show you a little bit of shading and a little trick to help make your apple look really realistic. Okay, so for the bonus tips, we're going to learn how to shade this apple. You can choose which apple color you'd like. You could do a yellow apple, a green apple, red, pink, or any mix of any of those colors. You can even look at a real apple and try to copy the patterns that you see in real life. For today, I'm going to show you a red apple and just the traditional solid red shading. So for this, I have 3 different shades of red, a really dark, a medium, and a light. You can use just one shade of red if you want and just push harder or lighter for your shading. So whatever you have available will be fine. If you're going to push harder or use your darkest shade, grab that now. And we want to add shading here on the right edge. So what I'm going to do is trace, pressing pretty hard with my darkest color. Trace the edge of my apple just on the right side. Almost like you're tracing the backwards C. Now, from there, I'm going to blend this darkest color in a little bit into the skin of the apple. So working with small circular motions, I'm going to push pretty hard near the edge of the skin and then slowly press lighter and lighter into the apple skin. You can see that shading that's going on right here. So it's really dark right here by the edge, and then I'm working my way up and into the center. I'm going to do that all the way around the entire right edge of the apple. You can see how my pencil is going in circles. That is a really nice way to shade. And remember, you can always go back and add more color if you feel like it's not dark enough or you need to add more in a certain spot. It doesn't have to be perfect right away. The more time you spend with your art, the better it'll be. You can also trace this little dimple line where the stem comes out, just to give that a lot of definition. You can pause here if you need to keep working. I'm going to switch to my medium red color now. Okay, here's where I'm going to do the entire center of the apple. This is the main color of my apple. However, I'm going to pretend like my light source, maybe the sun is shining in through a window or there's a light on. It's going to reflect off of this edge of my apple. So I'm not going to color in this top corner at all yet, but I am going to work all around it and color with this. Another thing to remember is you can even shade within one color. So I'm going to use this medium red color, but I'm going to still push a little bit harder over here than I will over here because I want it to blend into that light color. I'm going right on top of the other color, right on top of my dark red, and then I'm going to blend it all together. Still working with those circular motions and putting color wherever I need it to go. You see how far back my hand is on this pencil? Normally you hold a pencil pretty close to the tip. I'm moving my hand back like this so that I don't press quite as hard and I don't get those rough outline type of lines. I want it to blend. So I turn my pencil so that I'm using the side of my pencil and my pressure comes from way back here. Try that and see if you can manage the control of the pencil. See how you like it. Okay, now I'm working my way to press a little bit lighter into the left side of the apple. I do want to still work with that basic backwards C pattern. So I will come up here all the way to the right edge a little bit. Just pressing really lightly. When you learn how to draw, you have to know how to handle your pencil control and where to put your shading. So this is going to take practice. If you need to pause here, keep working. I'm going to switch to my lightest red. Now here, again, I don't want to put much color right here where the light is, but I am going to work and make the rest of the apple red, pressing lightly with my lightest shade of red. You can still see I added some color, but it's still very, very light in this area. So if you do feel like you got too much color in this area, another really fun way to add light details is to use the eraser. So I'm going to go back, and of course it won't erase all of it because it's a colored pencil. But if I erase just a little bit, it'll give me my light source back. I can always use my eraser to add a little bit on underneath here. And you can still see there's lots of color, but it brought a little bit of that light white back. Just a little bit of erasing can add a lot of detail. Okay, looking at my apple, I still think it needs to be a little bit darker red across the board. So I'm just going to take my medium red and work one more layer of red across the whole thing to make it really look solid. Great, this apple is looking really, really nice. Now, if you decided to do a green apple or a yellow apple, you'll probably notice from any pictures or if you're looking at a real apple that there are some slight imperfections in the color. Some might have little brown freckles. Some might have yellow streaks. And so for this apple, even though it's a really delicious red apple, I brought my yellow because I wanted to add just a little hint of yellow in one spot. So I'm going to randomly put it maybe right under here. And I'm just going to use it very lightly to add a little bit of imperfection to the skin. Adding yellow, especially to a green or a red apple, can also really add a nice highlight color. You can also add some little brown spots just to make it fun. I'll do them very tiny, just a couple. You're barely going to see them, but it's still going to make it just that much more realistic. Okay, since we have our brown out, let's go ahead and color our stem. You can color it any brown that you have. Just make sure the edges are nice and dark so that we have good contrast. That means we can see it better between the apple and the stem. Great, now let's work on the leaf. I am also going to use 3 shades of green for the leaf. You could use 2, or you could even use part of your yellow to add a little bit of highlight in there. So let's start with our darkest green. It is nice to have at least 1 darker green and 1 lighter green color, like a yellow green, like one of these. So start with your dark green and go ahead and trace all those veins. Make them nice and dark. Again, working from the center and flicking your pencil up to make them softer at the edges. Then I'll work with this dark green and outline the top of my leaf here. But not the bottom. Now I'll use those same circular motions to color in along the top edge of my leaf, working my way and shading my way down so that the whole leaf isn't dark. You still want to be able to see those veins underneath your shading. You don't have to work your way all the way to that vein. However thick your leaf is, you'll have a little bit more room or less room to work with this color. So you work on your leaf how you've drawn it. When you're ready, switch to your medium or lighter green, especially a yellow or green. That would be really nice. And we're going to finish coloring this top half of the leaf, blending our color in so it all looks like it goes together. Now on the bottom, the lightest area that we want is right here underneath that center vein. So with your lighter green, go ahead and trace pretty darkly the outline of the leaf. And then working your way with the color, work your way in, but leave it the lightest right here under the leaf. If you want to leave it totally white, you can. The funny thing about color is even though it's mostly or almost all the way white right here, your eye still sees it as green because it knows the whole leaf is green. And it sees it more like where the light hits versus an actual white spot that you seemingly forgot. Because you didn't forget. You put it in just the right spot so that your eye would see it as light. If you want to, you can switch to an even lighter green or your yellow and kind of add a little bit of highlight right around that area, still leaving it mostly white. There you have it, our wonderful apple. Now, if you want to add a table or a shadow, what you're going to want to do is take a darker color. I'm going to use brown in this case. And since we've made the light coming in on this side, let's pretend like the sun is hitting it right here. The shadow then is going to be back here underneath the apple. So pretending this is on a table, only if you want to, you can add a little bit of brown here and then a small oval of brown coming out on the side of your apple to give it a shadow. This just shows that you know and you've purposed where your light is coming from, and then you know that an object that is being hit by light would also have a shadow. You don't have to add that, but you can if you want. And with that, we're finished. No matter what size, shape, or color your apple is today, I am positive it looks great. I hope you're really proud of all your hard work today. Now you might want to go and try to draw a real apple. Look at the lights and the shadows, the colors and the patterns, and try to copy them into your own drawing as a way to practice. Whatever you do, keep practicing, and I'll see you next time in the drawing class.